Okay, I want to show you two examples of the refinement of the question, just to give you an idea of how things develop throughout the folio. Now, the two examples I'm going to show you are both at an A plus level, and the reason they're there is because of the sort of sophistication of the analysis of the different questions, and also because it shows the development of the research, because the questions change slightly due to the information that the students have actually found out. So Phil started off here looking at the public perception of animal experimentation. He basically thought that animal experimentation was fine. He actually had his brother in a job in this area, and he was puzzled as to why people didn't, sort of agree with him, I suppose. So he started off with that question there, but soon sort of realised that public perception is quite a difficult thing to actually identify, and what exactly did he mean by animal experimentation. So he got a bit more specific in the second question, and he started saying, okay, rodent use in toxicity tests. In other words, that's being specific about animal experimentation itself. And he kept the rodent use in toxicity tests for a while. But then he began to wrestle with this whole idea of the public attitude. And this was something that he wrestled with for a fair time, really, because how do you actually establish what the public attitude is towards animal experimentation? And he ended up sort of saying, okay, what I'm interested in really is the opposition. To what extent is there opposition to animal experimentation? And he got into the ethics of the question as well, because, it's highly controversial, animal experimentation, and people disagree with each other in quite a major way. There are some major ethical implications. So he kept on changing his questions slightly. He then sort of started having a look at the arguments from the animal rights groups, and managed to get arguments that from both sides that essentially gave him enough information to answer this question. Are the views of animal experimentation presented by activists justified? And then, he realised that that wasn't particularly well phrased or well worded, and so he fiddled around with the words, and he ended up with his final question that allowed him to answer everything that he wanted to answer in this particular question. Now, you'll have to do the reading around that yourself, but let me just show you another example. Now, Abby wanted to have a look at surrogacy, basically where somebody else carries the child of parents who, for whatever reason, one or the other, they're unable to have children. And she was interested in looking at, commercial surrogacy, in other words, paying people to have children for you, and altruistic surrogacy, whereby somebody, maybe a sister of the woman or man or whatever, they agree that they are just going to, for the love of it, carry the other person's child. And you can easily see the development of Abby's research as she goes through, because she starts looking at the legal side of things, in terms of commercial surrogacy. She'd already known that, it wasn't legal in Australia. And she sort of goes into, well, maybe I should do my question. Maybe I should just look into why it's illegal in Australia. And she spends some time sort of thinking about that and thinking about the consequences of that particular question. But she's also interested in how women overseas in commercial surrogacy are actually exploited. So she was wandering in that direction and looking at all the research on that, which was pretty powerful. And she then explains how she changed things after discussions with the teacher. And I suppose this is an example of where your teachers are really, really helpful. If you're sort of struggling with your direction in the research, there's nothing like sitting down with somebody to clarify exactly what it is that you want to research. So after that discussion, she decided that she wanted to look at possibly creating a National Surrogacy Act herself. Now, she wouldn't create it from scratch. She'd have a look at what was in existence and try and make her own. But that's exactly what she decided to do in the end. She sort of looked at how a National Surrogacy Act would benefit parents, surrogates and children within Australia. And in fact, her outcome was partly her ideas about how the law could be changed to achieve this. Okay, so and have a look at the other examples as well on the website because they're quite